What's up, horror fans? It is Danny from the Lassercast, and I just got home from a special screening of Scream Part 6, Ghostface Takes Manhattan. Uh, and no spoilers ahead, I promise. I am just going to give you some first thoughts, some instant reactions that I have, and any plot points or specific details that I mention will be things that were seen in the various trailers, so you don't have to worry that I'm going to spoil anything. I'm not going to give any killer reveals. I'm not going to give any specific spoilers of any kind, I promise. That being said, let me get it out of the way right away. I really, really liked Scream 6. When I walked out of the theater a year ago, after Scream, Part 5, we all know it's Part 5, my first thought was, oh yeah, I really like that. And then I saw it again, and I went, yeah, no, I think I like that. And then I saw it a third time, and it kind of had a law of diminishing returns with me. Upon first viewing, Scream 5 leaped up to being my second favorite in the franchise, behind the original. After a third viewing, it's probably now closer to the bottom. I also will say, and many people have said this too, I don't think there's been a bad Scream movie. Scream 3, to me, is my least favorite of the franchise, but it's still fun. There are still characters that I enjoy in that movie. Parker Posey is my go-to for, favorite kind of throwaway Scream character. But yeah, I'm not going to rank Scream 6. I just came home. I just saw it for the first time. I already bought my tickets to see it again. I'm taking Charlotte on Thursday night. So maybe after a second viewing, I'll be able to give it an initial ranking. Scream 6 takes place in New York City. Our central characters from Scream 2022, Scream 5, as I will call it from this point on, are now in college. They have left Woodsboro behind. There is no Woodsboro in this movie. And for, the running joke about how this is Ghostface Take Manhattan, don't worry, the movie does not take place on a boat for, 75% of the runtime. This is a legit New York movie. It feels like a New York movie, even though I think most of it was filmed in Montreal. It really does feel like a Ghostface in the city, which is a pretty cool idea. Directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, Tyler Gillette of Radio Silence, and the writers James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, they come back from Scream 5, and I think they did a much better job in this movie. I think they got the comedy elements, I think, hit much better. I think they do the fan service a lot better. I think that there are parts of Scream 5 that kind of on second and third viewing felt a little bit forced, were a little too big of a stretch of the imagination for me. This movie, I think they really hit home. And as a huge fan of Ready or Not, their horror film that they made before Scream, before getting into the Scream franchise, I'm fully on board with the Radio Silence vision of Scream now. Because like I said, on first viewing, I think this is a better overall Scream movie than Scream 5. So you have the core four of Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera. They are the Carpenter sisters, Tara and Sam, respectively. You have Randy's niece and nephew, Mindy and Chad, Jasmine Savoy Brown, and Mason Gooding. They return, and the four of them are in college, like I said, and they're joined by a couple of new characters. Devin Nakota plays Annika, who is Mindy's girlfriend. You have Jack Champion as Ethan, who is Chad's roommate, and then you have Liana Liberato, who plays Quinn, who is the Carpenter sisters' roommate. And Quinn's father is Dermot Mulroney, a veteran character actor who plays Detective Bailey in this movie. He plays the cop. Again, these are characters that you see in the trailers. I'm not spoiling anything. I didn't reveal anything. And of course, another character you see in the trailer is the return of Hayden Panettiere's Kirby Reed for the first time since 2011's Scream 4, where she was stabbed and effectively left for dead. Wes Craven said after that movie that he intentionally left her death to be vague, or her left that scene to be vague in case, she could come back. A lot of people thought that she was dead. A lot of people had hoped and prayed we'd see her last year in Scream 5. I think she is perfect. She has a few really good scenes, especially with Gail, a wonderful Courtney Cox. I've always been a little skeptical of Gail Weathers in this franchise. I would have preferred her dying earlier in the franchise. But I get that Wes Craven wanted to kind of have that big three of Sidney, Gail, and Dewey. I kind of thought maybe she was going to be the one to die in Scream 5, but she is the one remaining original character, original actor. Unless, of course, you include Roger L. Jackson, who returns once again for a sixth movie as the voice of Ghostface. But Courtney Cox, I think, does a very good job in this movie. And, between her and Hayden Panettiere's Kirby, you have that, again, you have those legacy characters from films earlier in the franchise. Now you have that returning group, the core four, Tara, Samantha, Chad, and Mindy coming back from Scream 5. You have this nice group of characters, and then you add in, these newcomers to it. Also, I didn't mention Josh Segarra, who I remember as Adrian Chase in Arrow on the CW. He is in this movie as Danny. He's like the sexy neighbor of the Carpenter sisters and Quinn. The crowd that I saw this with, this was a screening in a big theater, the Regal Union Square Theater in Manhattan, and it was a pretty packed house, and the crowd was into this movie from the beginning. We got, gasps and like oohs and ahs for the Ghostface stuff. The kills, just like with Scream 5, these guys, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, Tyler Gillette, they know how to do kind of real gory stuff, even with, basically mostly stabbing and slicing. They still kind of hit it out of the park with the rated R levels of gore. The best kills in the franchise were probably in Scream 5, aside from like a couple memorable ones here and there. There are a few in this movie that were like, ooh, the real nasty stuff. And the crowd reacted to that. The crowd also reacted to some of the comedy lines, and that's been part of the Scream element since the beginning. What has made Scream this kind of now multi-generational franchise has been those kind of one-liners, those comedy elements. Not comedy elements, but the ability to throw in a legit laugh here and there. Halloween, Friday the 13th, those franchises don't have a lot of, quirky one-liners in there. Obviously, Freddy does, and so it makes sense that a Wes Craven franchise is going to have that kind of, humor to offset the gore. You had Randy, of course. You had... You had those characters in the original and those first few sequels. Now you have this kind of camaraderie with the cast, plus the ability to make the laughs kind of feel genuine. Again, I think that's a credit to the writers and the directors having more of a firm grasp of this franchise in their second movie than they did in the first. And I'm making that seem like Scream 5 was bad, which I don't think it was. I just think this is a overall better movie. So, basically, opening scene. No spoilers, but I think it's probably my favorite opening scene, kill of the Scream franchise since part one. I think I really like what they did. They subvert expectations throughout the movie. That's part of, Mindy, who is basically her Uncle Randy's, she's channeling his spirit. She has the monologue in Scream 5 about how it's a requel. And in this movie, the focus is on the franchise. Because you're thinking, this is what, part 6? But it's not even really part 6. It's kind of a sequel to they did the remake, part 4, then they did the requel with legacy characters, part 5, and now this is a sequel to that while also being part of the bigger universe. So this movie, the focus is not just on a sequel, a trilogy, a remake, a requel. It's the franchise, which at this point, when there's a sequel to this movie, which of course there will be, I don't even know what they're going to do. I don't know what's left to deconstruct. But I loved how they deconstructed the franchise. One of the parts of the trailer that excited me the most was when they uncover this shrine, not just to Ghostface, but to the Stab universe, and really the Scream universe. They have the actual clothing and the actual knives and masks worn by all of the killers. Courtney Cox has this great line, and it's in the trailer, talking to Ghostface on the phone and going, you're like the 10th person to do this. And they play with that a lot. And I really think that they do a great job because it makes the references to previous movies, it doesn't make them feel as forced. One of my criticisms about part 5 was that the connections to the original did kind of feel forced. The idea that Samantha, they constructed this story about how Samantha is Billy Loomis's daughter. I thought that felt a little forced. And then we find out that, one of the guys that's killed is Stu Macher's nephew. And there's obviously you have Randy's niece and nephew, which I was okay with because we had met his sister in part 3. But everything kind of felt a little bit forced. We have to make these oddball connections to the original trilogy in part 4. The Wes Craven films. Here, by tackling the element of a horror franchise, it made those references not feel as forced. And I can't wait to rewatch this movie because watching it on my own, first viewing, there's got to be so many Easter eggs that I missed. In the trailer, you see this scene. It's Halloween. They get on the train. Everybody's in costume. So many Easter eggs on those train cars. So many costume Easter eggs that I'd love to talk about more and that I'd love to see more of. In fact, when I go Thursday night, I'm probably going to bring a pad and pencil, and I'm going to probably try to scribble some notes down in the dark. There's one Easter egg that I legit popped for in the movie, and it has to do with, this is, and the movie posters have referenced Jason Takes Manhattan, Ghostface Takes Manhattan. There's an Easter egg to that, which I thought was brilliant. And yeah, overall, the kills are good. The opening scene is really good. The killing is all good. I wasn't upset. I wasn't disappointed. I thought that, I thought it was good. I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. And that's the best thing I could say for it. When you guys get a chance to see it, please let me know what you think. I will be back with a full-on spoiler review. Charlotte and I are going to go, again, Thursday night. We're going to sit down and we're going to record a spoiler-filled review, and we will release that over the weekend. So we'll give you guys a chance to see it. But for now, those are my first thoughts on Scream 6. Love the setting. Loved the aspect of tackling the entire franchise. I was perfectly fine with the reveal at the end. I also, not a spoiler, but there is a post-credit scene. And I think you will enjoy it, and I think it's worth staying to the very end of the credits for. So that's all I'll say. Make sure you stay to the end of the credits for the post-credit scene. And yeah, that was Scream 6. Cannot wait to see it again. And stay tuned. We'll have a lot more Scream coverage coming up.